Is everybody in? Is everybody in? The show is about to begin.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Concerts That Made Us. I'm your host Brian and I'm back with another great episode this week. But before I get into it, go find us and follow us on social media. Just search for Concerts That Made Us on Facebook and Instagram and at ConcertsUs on Twitter. Now my guest this week is a very good friend of the show. His name is Copper Kelly and he's a rising country music star from my hometown of Wexford. Now, not only is he a great country musician, but he's also a self-confessed metalhead. So this is going to make for a very interesting episode. I can't wait for you all to hear it. And as you're listening, try figure out, is he a metalhead with a country heart? Or is he a country star with a metalhead heart? But now, without further ado, let's get on with the show.
Some people say a man is made out of mud. A poor man's made out of muscle and blood. Muscle and blood, skin and bone, and a mind that's weak and a back that's strong. You know the 16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. Saying, Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go sold to the company store. I was born one morning when the sun didn't shine. I picked up my shovel, I went to the mine. I loaded 16 tons of number 9 coal. The straw boss said, well, bless my soul, you load 16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. Say, Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go my soul to the company store. I was born one morning in the drizzling rain. I'm fighting in trouble was my middle name. I was raised in the canebrake by home on the line. Ain't no high-tone woman, they walk that line. You load the 16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. Saying, Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go my soul to the company store. If you see me coming, better step aside. A lot of men didn't, a lot of men died. One fist of iron and the other of steel. If the right don't get you, but the left one will. You know the 16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. Saying, Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go my soul to the company store.
Hi Copper, you're very welcome to the show this evening.
Thanks very much for having me.
It's great to have another Wexford man and a Wexford musician at that.
Exactly. I heard tell of you off Rob Billington, the Monster Fuzz, and he said, there's another Wexford man over there doing podcasts. So I said, I'll give you a shout. And See how you're getting on.
Yeah. Big shout out to Rob as well. One of my favorite podcasts.
Yeah, he's doing a great job himself and Eamon there. Talking about the old cryptids and the paranormal and stuff. It's all good crack.
And even if you're not into the cryptids, just to hear some of the stuff to come out with, like, it's just, you'd be in fits of laughing.
You're in stitches, like.
Yeah. So we'll get on to you. Enough about Monster Fuzz. So you're a country musician and you're based in Wexford. Would you like to tell us a bit about your music?
Yeah, I suppose. I've been releasing country music there last few years. It's kind of started probably 2017. I released first song, I guess, and then I'm a home producer, I suppose you could say. I have my own little studio in the house here. Kind of converted a room and put soundproofing up and got nice gear and all that kind of crack. And I recorded my first album, Worthwhile Waste of Time, in 2017. I released it then a few years ago, and it's got a good little bit of airplay around the place, around the world as well, which is kind of cool. And so I'm kind of keeping going. I have, I do most of it, a lot of it myself, and put my own money into it and stuff. I have no manager or producer or any of that crack, as a lot of independent musicians are kind of like that nowadays. So I have a lot of freedom to kind of do what I want. But I'm also a metal player as well. So a lot of gigs we want to talk about they're mostly metal gigs.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how a metalhead became a country singer. Yeah,
I suppose. Yeah, I was playing metal since I was probably 12 when I picked up a guitar. I started playing Metallica. I think Some Kind of Monster was like the first riff I learned properly when I got like electric guitar. I was playing it in the wrong tuning and everything. I didn't know you had to go down to drop C or anything at the time, but so I was playing in loads of the bands over the years, playing in like had a metal band for a long time. We were doing like Trivium and Lamb of God and Killswitch Engage, a lot of that kind of metal for many years. And then I kind of got into pub bands and indie bands, indie band called Kings in the Skies based in Kilkenny. We're hoping to get going again soon, eventually. But then I was working in Loftushall. You know Loftushall?
I do, I know it well.
Yeah. I was working there for about a year. And then I left that, and I was kind of in between jobs, and I happened to bump into this woman called Dipna Walsh from just outside Wellington Bridge. And I was just chatting away to her, and she was, asked me what I was doing. I was like, I'm kind of doing nothing at the moment, in between jobs, as to say. So I'm a musician, though. She says, I'm a lyric writer, songwriter. I've given songs to like Michael English and a few of these kind of people. And she said, here, look, I'll give you some lyrics and just, make up some music for it, make up a melody and, see what you can come up with. I said, okay, fake it. Sort of doing nothing else, so I might as well. So I had my little M-box, little interface, and my, rudimentary version of Pro Tools at the time as well. So I was got the lyrics and made some melody, put some acoustic guitar on it, kind of made a quick demo of it for her that night. And I sent it to her that night pretty much. And she was like astounded that I did it so quick. And it was actually, she liked it. So I said, hey, okay, record that properly now, and I'll get it on the radio for you. And I spent the next maybe month kind of, doing it right and perfecting it, mixing it and all that kind of crack. And I gave it to her on Friday, and she had it on Southeast Radio on the Saturday.
Oh, man.
I was like, okay, maybe there's something to this. So I said, fuck it, I'll try to write my own songs and just make an album and just see what happens. And apparently some people like it, so it's all good.
Yeah. Jeez, it must have been some feeling, though, when it was played on Southeast Radio. And then you mentioned a few minutes ago that your other songs have received worldwide airplay. That must be some feeling. Absolutely.
Like, she put on Southeast Radio, and that's like, obviously being from Wexford, we kind of grew up with Tony Keogh, doing the country and all this kind of crack. And so I basically got the CD, or got the MP3 in an email that just happened across a big email list, and I started emailing it out to everyone I could. And I ended up getting played in Germany and Uruguay and where else? Yeah, somewhere in a few places in America and a few places like Canada, and a good few places around. And people were like, some Australian radio station called me up looking for an interview on the air, and I said, okay, grand, fair enough. It's kind of weird. Okay.
Yeah, like last week you were there, you hadn't recorded anything, and all of a sudden now there's radio stations looking for interviews. It's mind blowing.
So, yeah, absolutely. And it's still, still, obviously it gave me the good motivation to keep going with it.
Yeah.
And so I started writing my own songs. I do a few covers as well, but see, on my first album I had like 10 songs and 6 of them I wrote myself, and then there's like 4 covers or something like that. And same on this new album. I'm working on this like a second album at the moment, and I've a good few I wrote myself, and there's a few covers on it as well.
Yeah.
Because you kind of have to do that to kind of keep people happy as well. They kind of want to hear songs that they are familiar with instead of these brand new songs that they don't know, kind of thing. So you have to kind of mix it up.
Yeah, you need to kind of get their attention with the ones they know, and then introduce them to your stuff.
Exactly. Like my last song was my last single was 16 Tons, but it's fair. I don't know if it's widely known, but it's like a song from like the 1940s about coal mining. I was actually in an episode of South Park last year. So the Amazon one, if you watched that one, they played a song on it, and Johnny Cash did a version of it as well in like 87, and that's and I loved it as well. Great. First time I heard it, I was like, oh, I have to record it, let's do a version of that and record it and release it. So I did, and then the single before that was an original song called Get Gone, and so I'm kind of mixing it up, so.
Yeah, I think that song is one that even if you've never heard a country song, it'll be somewhere in your memory banks. I think it's just ingrained in people, everyone has heard of it somehow. Yeah. But I have to ask, I know the lady gave you the lyrics and everything, but was there a point where you're like, okay, I'm going to make this into a metal song? Or was it straight away you knew it was going to be country?
Oh, no. For that one, I knew it was going to be country, yeah. I suppose if you listen back to it now, it's cheesy as hell. But, country can be cheesy as hell as well. So it's, but yeah, for that one, I suppose not. Yeah, it was very kind of lovey-dovey kind of a song, so it wouldn't really suit a metal. You wouldn't come on with like a 7-string and start baiting away. But the odd song, sometimes you have fun. You kind of play Ring of Fire, put on some distortion, have a crack with it. Or something, But other than that, yeah.
Oh, cool. And you also have a podcast.
I do, yeah. I started a podcast about 2 months ago, I think. Now, I think it's around the same time as you start yours.
Yeah.
Call it the Folkin Around Podcast.
It's a good name.
I think we're on our 9th episode, I think, this week, and something like that. Okay, you kind of lose track, don't you?
You really do. Together. You really do.
Yeah. So I myself and a girl from England called Jodie Lucas, which we actually never met in person, but we talk over Skype, on Zoom like this and stuff, and we record episodes. We're interviewing people in the Irish country scene. And I suppose for your listeners that don't know anything about the Irish country scene, it's a whole beast in itself. Like, I'm still learning about it. Like, I'm like this outsider, kind of poke my head around the corner and say hello. You know what I mean? And like the whole industry of country music in Ireland is massive. And like before, obviously the lockdowns and all, there was social dancing every single night in whatever hotel you were in your locality, and they're always selling out. And there's like Nathan Carter would be selling out fucking opera houses and whatever. And it's massive scene. So I'm kind of poking my head around the corners, trying to get put my foot in the door. So we're interviewing a lot of actual country singers in the scene, like a lot of up and comers, I suppose you could say, young people. And then we had Gary Gamble on there last week or the week before, and he's kind of he does like Daniel O'Donnell impressions, and he has his own music. Right. You should see him. He comes out on the stage, he has a wig on, and he's like, oh, hey, Daniel. And he comes out, he does a whole concert as Daniel O'Donnell, and he does the accent, and in between songs, talking to the audience, like, hello, Mary, hello, Josie, hello, all this kind of, it's just so funny. Oh. It's like pure Irish humor. And so we have a good few guests. We had a fella from Nashville on there last week as well, Calvin Lee. So I don't know how we managed to get that, but we were chatting away to him, and he's a sound lad. So I have a place to crash whenever I go over to Nashville.
That'll be handy in the future.
Exactly. So it's the Folkin Around podcast. And I actually, going back to the paranormal monster fuzz kind of stuff, I asked, did they have any ghost stories for the crack?
Really?
And which no one expects, because people are generally asked same interview questions. When did you get your start in music, and was your family musical, and all this kind of crap.
Yeah.
I come out, do you have any ghost stories?
Right.
So like I had that Gary Gamble guy. He told us, he went on for about half an hour telling us about this house that he lived in that was possessed. And he had like men with no faces and black snakes and wine bottles shooting across the room and all this kind of stuff. But like we didn't tell him that we were going to be asking him this kind of question.
Yeah.
Or he had no reason to expect he would be asked this kind of question. So he was like, oh, geez, will I tell this now, or will people think I'm mad? So it's like, I didn't think he was like lying to me or anything. You know what I mean? So it made for a really, really interesting conversation, I tell you that.
It's a great question though, because everybody does have some sort of paranormal story or encounter. People love talking about them. I've often been thinking to myself, how could I work Loftus Hall into an episode of Concerts That Made Us? There's just no way you can. But you just brought it up, so I'll have to ask you, any creepiness or anything inside there?
I did have one time, like I was there for nearly a year, and I was in the house on my own a lot as well, like, and sometimes at night time, and I was never fazed by it. It didn't bother me. Like, if I was going to see something, I'd be like, yeah, bring it on. I want to see something,
Yeah.
Because I'm still on the fence, right? I believe that the possibility is there. That's something, there's spooks and whatever, but I'm not a full-on believer at the moment, But I have great interest in it. It's very entertaining anyway, regardless. So, but there was one time I was alone in the house and I was emptying out a bedroom on the first floor where like the public can't really go, like up the the great staircase.
Yeah.
So I was like, room was just full of rubbish and dead pigeons and all this kind of crack, and we had to empty out the rooms because just a film was coming to shoot there called The Lodgers.
Oh, cool.
And we needed to use the bedrooms as sets for different scenes and so on. So I was there, filling boxes of rubbish and taking them downstairs, empty them, and come back, get another box of rubbish, and do it again and again and again. So on one particular run, I had the door, the room was open, big heavy wooden door, kind of propped open by its own weight. Let's say I didn't have anything against it.
Yeah,
and I had the windows open to let out the dust and all. But it was middle of the day, nice sunny day, no wind, nice and calm. And I went out of the room with my box in my hand. I walked down the hall towards the top of the stairs, and I took the first step. And then as soon as I reached the second step from the top, the door from the room I had come from slammed really fucking hard. Like, as I say, it's like James Hetfield in the Some Kind of Monster documentary, when he went out and he slammed the door behind him. And but that in itself was weird. I went back to the room, opened the door, made sure there was no one, playing a trick on me. Because I was like, damn, if this is a ghost, I want to experience it. Come on, show me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But the thing is, on the next run, I fill up another box, carried down the hall. First step, second step. As soon as I reached that second step from the top, bang, again, the door slammed.
Jeez, that's weird.
Yeah, exactly. So it gets you thinking. And again, I went back, opened the door, no one there. The wind was not, obviously your first thought was a big draft pulled the door closed.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really windy. It wasn't, and it only happened at those 2 times the whole day. I was there the whole day, going back and forward in the room, and it happened twice. And as soon as I nearly stepped on the second step from the top. Yeah. So it's just, it really makes you think.
It would.
Yeah. Other than that, you hear noises all the time. It's it's a big old house, so it's constantly creaking and all this kind of stuff. But other than that, that's the one experience that I couldn't explain right away. I still can't really explain it,
Yeah.
But
for our listeners in America and Canada, I suppose they might not know what it is. It's you'd probably be able to tell it better than I would.
Oh, I suppose it's a big old house, big hall, big mansion in near Hook Head in Wexford, the southeast, and it was built. Well, I suppose it's nearly 600. Well, the time I was there was 666th anniversary of the house being built, and it was a few years ago. So it's about 670 years old or something like that. And there's no legend to do with the house where a visitor came to the house during a storm. Is this about the 1700s, mid 1700s? A visitor came to the house and they were playing cards, and the family that lived there had a young daughter called Lady Anne, and Lady Anne and the stranger kind of became good friends, and they were playing cards for a few nights in a row. But one night they were playing cards, and the big grandfather clock or whatever struck midnight, and Lady Anne got her fright, dropped the cards under the table, went down under the table to pick them up, and noticed that the stranger's feet were cloven hoofs, like goat hoofs. So the stranger was found out, so he flew into a big ball of fire and shot around the room, and then shot up through the roof and away, never to be seen again. And apparently, the hole is still there in the card room ceiling, and apparently they can never repair. But
yeah, I've heard that
you're not going to repair it. You're going to leave it there.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the legend. And then Lady Anne supposedly went a bit mad, and then she was locked away in the tapestry room for years and years, where she didn't really eat much or drink much or anything like that. And she ended up dying, and she died. She was kind of, for years, she was sitting with her knees to her chin, kind of hugging her knees to her chin, and she died like that. They couldn't straighten her body out.
Oh, jeez.
And they had to bury her in like a big triangle, kind of a coffin, and they basically covered the grave with cement, just in case she wouldn't get out or no one would get in, let's say. And but supposedly then, for years after that, Lady Anne was seen walking around the house, looking for someone or whatever it is. But it could have. There's some explanations for the legend. It could be that she had a baby with this, or her and the stranger could have had a liaison, let's say, and a baby could have been the product of it, and maybe the stranger was sent away. Because having a child outside of wedlock is very taboo, especially back then. Yeah, and so she could have been grief stricken, and they basically locked her away. Instead of, or she could have had like a mental illness or something like that, and they'd rather lock her away and say that the devil appeared in the house rather than say she had a mental illness, because it was so stigmatized back then.
Yeah, it would have been a shame on the family back then.
Yeah, exactly. And sure, there's many sightings and things over the years, and people used to come up to me all the time saying, "Oh, I felt this and I felt that," and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, there's lots of stories to do with it. All right, but I was good crack working there. I got to Halloween time. I got to scare the shite out of people.
I'd say that was probably the most fun time of the year to be there.
I was dressed up like, say, Corey Taylor from Slipknot, with the mask on me and everything. I was standing in this dark hallway, and people would come by, and I'd basically jump out and scream in their face. All this kind of stuff. So it was great. That was good times. All right.
Yeah, I've had a couple of conversations with friends over the years saying, the gimmicky sort of haunted house jump scare thing kind of takes away from the actual creepiness and scariness of it. What do you think? Well,
when I was dressing up like that was like literally the Halloween tour, the Halloween time. But like during the rest of the year, it was just a normal tour of the house, let's say.
Yeah.
And then you could have your lock-ins and things at night time as well, and this kind of stuff, like paranormal investigation kind of thing. But yeah, Halloween is just fun as hell. Like, we had our tour guys dressed up in like ghoul characters, and they'll go around like whispering in people's ears, and it's that kind of thing. But I suppose you see these kind of haunted house things being set up in like a business park in a warehouse, and it hasn't got the same effect as doing it in an actual
proper haunted house,
600-year-old haunted house.
Yeah.
So it definitely adds to it, I think.
True, when you look at it that way. All right.
Yeah.
I once heard a story about Jerry Ryan was wanting to do a show. For people that don't know, he was a very famous broadcaster in Ireland in the 80s and 90s. But he was wanting to do a live radio show from Loftus Hall back in the early 90s. And apparently the story goes he received a letter a week before from the Pope saying he was banned from going inside Loftus Hall.
Jeez, I've actually never heard that one.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we better get on to the concerts. We could sit here talking about Loftus Hall. And
I suppose you could, yeah.
Everything all night. So, your first earliest musical memory, what would it be?
Yeah. This back probably when I was 10 or 11, I started really kind of getting into music in a big way. Before that, I was just watching like the top 30 hits.
Yeah.
We used to have it on the RTE2, and I never really enjoyed the songs on it, but I always loved the intro, which was actually years later I found it was Korn. It was like Freak on a Leash when he goes go do do do, and that was like the intro. I was like, I always loved the intro, and it's like, why are they never playing this song? And where can I see this music video? But then I discovered, obviously, I went to secondary school, and in first year I started meeting new friends, and they were telling me about like Metallica and like Slipknot and all these bands I'd never heard of before.
Yeah.
And I think, probably one of my first memories in relation to that would be, say, asking Santi for Slipknot CD for Christmas. But But obviously I didn't know this. I knew it was my mum and my dad, but I knew where they were stashing the presents. So I used to go in, a few weeks before Christmas, and go in, like, open up the CD and read the liner notes, and smell it as well. It's like it had a particular smell. I can almost remember the smell to this day.
Yeah, actually, I remember the smell off CDs. Something I haven't thought about in a long time.
Exactly. And so this is, like, obviously I was doing that for like weeks until Christmas Day, and then Christmas Day I had my little Walkman and sat on the couch and so I listened to fucking Slipknot all day. So that's probably one of my earliest memories there with that.
Jeez, what did your parents think of having to buy a Slipknot CD?
Oh, sure, they didn't know anything about it.
No.
It's just a funny looking, had a goat on the front. So, that's a bit strange. But they weren't really interested. Like, they're not going to sit down and listen to it with me or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it was, it's grand. Got away with it.
It's a good intro into that sort of music anyway.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I'd normally ask what was the first single or album you got, but obviously you've answered that question. So the first gig you were ever at then?
It was, I think it was 2004. I went to RDS to see Metallica.
Right.
I'd just gotten into, like, St. Anger. I think you were mentioning on your first episode how you like that album as well. Yeah. A lot of people give it a lot of hard time, but I love it. Like, I know it has its flaws. Totally understand.
Yeah.
You have your tin can snare sound and all that kind of crack. But for me, that was like Frantic and St. Anger were like the first Metallica riffs that I heard, and I was just hooked. It's like, wow, this is raw, powerful, angry. I love it.
Yeah.
And so I went to see, me and my friend at the time, he was a drummer and I was a guitarist, and we were just jamming out Metallica all the time. And we decided to go see him in RDS that summer. It was 2004, I think it was. And they had Slipknot supporting them as well.
Oh, man.
So I was delighted. And they had Lost Prophets there as well supporting, but less said about that the better, I suppose. So, went to RDS, saw Slipknot, delighted. They had Volume 3 had just come out, I think it was. So they had like Pulse of the Maggots and all this kind of crack. And that was great crack. And then saw Metallica live for the first time, just blew my mind. And they ended it with Whiskey in the Jar, I think, or it was Whiskey in the Jar and then Seek and Destroy, something like that. And it was absolutely monumentous. I'd never been to a gig at that size. I'd never been to a field that had like 10,000 people in it or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So it should blow your mind. Like, and then I've seen him 3 times since. So
man,
it gave me the bug.
Yeah. St. Anger was actually my introduction to him as well. And I wouldn't have really heard much of their stuff before. I was like the perfect age when that album came out, and I really got into it. Like you, I loved St. Anger and Frantic. Me and a few friends formed a band, and I remember being in my bedroom with drums, guitars. We had one of them had a Marshall half stack that we set up in my bedroom. I don't know how we fit everything in, but I actually pity my parents now looking back, because we used to be trying our best to like play them 2 songs just like them. I'm sure we sounded nothing like them, but it was just so much fun, and screaming out the lyrics. And it's kind of funny that they never really play any songs from that nowadays when they tour. No. Everyone just hates it so much, but I actually think it was a great introduction to Metallica, because then obviously I went back and got into their older stuff, and I was like, well, this is fucking great.
It's a lot different. Yeah. And even today, I think recently enough, I just stuck on St. Anger and I took out my guitar, tuned it down to drop C, and I just jammed away with the whole album. It's like, the riffs are so easy. They're like 0-3-5. Tab it out, let's say. They're all based around that. But you can pretty much like figure it out as you go. And it's just, it's raw, it's heavy, and you really, it gets you pumped up just to jam along with it. Exactly. It's so easy to jam along with it as well.
Yeah, it's a great one if you're just getting into playing guitar, because as you said, they're so easy to play.
Yeah, like Some Kind of Monster. Do.
Yeah,
it's so simple, but it's so heavy, and when you get it sounding right, it's just, you feel like you're James Hetfield.
Yeah, you feel like
standing
really
in front
impressive.
Your full stack. So a lot of people give it a hard time, but I think in this day and age, people are actually kind of softening up to it a bit. They're kind of coming around. They're thinking, I hear that snare, it sounds awful, but I think it works for the sound.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I think people have dismissed it. Maybe you might should go back and have another listen, and you might might appreciate it a bit more.
Yeah, exactly. I'm dying to ask you about the other 2 times that you've seen him, but I think I'll wait till the end after hearing more about your concerts. Yeah. So it was obviously packed out and everything, and in the middle of summer, stuff like that. Yeah,
June or something like that. Yeah.
It must have been a great first concert. My first concert was the Chili Peppers, which was good, but oh man, I would have loved to have went to see Metallica as my first.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I actually saw the Chili Peppers there. Was it 2 or 3 years ago? I think they were playing the Tree Arena, and they had cancelled from the year before, and they had to postpone it a year or something. So I went to it and I saw it. They were very good anyway.
Yeah,
on top form.
Yeah, they're usually good as well. I think it was actually around 2004, 2005 when I seen them now in Punchestown. The park by the Ars on Outram.
Yeah.
There. I can't think of the name of it.
Do they call it that anymore? I can't
Probably not.
Probably some insurance company name or some shit.
Probably, yeah. So if you had to pick a song then that sticks out in your mind that's linked to the memory of your first concert, what would it be?
It's definitely Frantic, I suppose.
It has to be. The opening on the album.
Yeah. It's crazy, but I first time I heard it, it's like, just wow, that's the coolest shit I've ever heard.
Yeah. It was actually, that song actually made me want to learn how to play drums as well.
Yeah.
It's just the double, I think he has a double bass drum on it, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Then he let off the snare off the the actual beads. He let the beads off, and then he dong.
So we'll move on to the last concert you were at. So
yeah, and it's actually Metallica.
It's funny how that linked up.
Yeah, Slane. I think you said you went to it as well.
I did.
Yeah. So it was 2019.
2019.
Yeah. So that was it had Ghost on before, which I was mad to see as well. I'd gotten into Ghost a lot the months leading up to it, and a few other bands like Fan Club and stuff. They're class. They're an Irish band, kind of I suppose indie rock, I guess, but they have some really good stuff as well. And I honestly can't remember who else was playing with them. Can you? It's a band called like Godzilla or something like that.
Gojira or something, is it? Something like that.
It's not Gojira, no. They're savage. I did see them before. They're one of my favorite bands, but no, it wasn't Godzilla actually. It was some other band. I can't remember the name at all, but you couldn't really hear them properly as well. That's the problem.
I remember that we arrived and I think we missed the first one, and then the second one we're playing, but like we were up by the food court and everything, and we just couldn't really make out anything. It just sounded like noise and fuzz. Yeah.
And even when Metallica came on, you could hear like the slap echo kind of bouncing off. It's hard to describe. It's just bouncing off one side and coming back. So you kind of hear doubled up a small bit.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of the nature of outdoor sound, unfortunately. It's just you're open to the elements, so sound just kind of dissipates. It's gone.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned Ghost. I hadn't heard of Ghost before that concert, and I instantly fell in love with them. And I ended up going to see them then when they played Ireland in, I think it was October, November or something, 2019 as well. But they were
playing with that. I missed that one. That gig. They were just another support or something.
Geez, I can't remember who was supporting me either. I feel like it must be old age or something. I start to forget the support acts and only remember the main one.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, they're class. They're like they're not necessarily metal, but they're kind of hard rock with kind of operatic elements.
And like themes from the 80s almost as well in some of their songs.
Exactly, and they're all dressed up as nameless ghouls, and then the lead singer's Papa Emeritus.
Yeah,
Emeritus. I can't pronounce it, but yeah, he's like dressed up as like a ghostly monk or a ghostly pope.
Yeah,
and he kind of changes every few years to different costumes and things like that. It's a really good gimmick. Like it
actually is. Really well actually is, and it's only one guy, like, and he keeps changing the backing or the supporters.
Right.
It's
the musicians are session musicians, and he's the main leader. He writes the songs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I actually heard a story that Dave. It's on the tip of my tongue. Tobias Forge.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. He's from Finland, or no, he's from Scandinavia or somewhere. Isn't he?
Yeah, it's one of them Scandinavian countries. But I remember hearing a story that Dave Grohl actually went on tour with him as the drummer, and nobody knew.
I heard that. Yeah. I heard that as well. I don't know if he went on the whole tour. He'd at least probably go up for a show or something.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah.
That'd be like him, all right.
Exactly.
That would have been cool.
Yeah. Imagine though being at that gig and not knowing that you had seen Dave Grohl play drums for a whole gig.
Yeah. That'd be cool, all right. But you might recognize it. He hits so goddamn hard. You might actually recognize it.
True, actually, yeah.
He's one of those kind of recognizable drummers.
Yeah, definitely. Probably his style would stick out to you. But what did you think of Metallica on today then?
Yeah, they were on form. Like, they were blasted it out, but they played a few, like played Spit Out the Bone, and from the new album, like probably one of the best songs off that new album. And they played Frantic, I think you said as well. Like, they're surprising to hear something off Say Anger being played.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Didn't Rob and Kirk came out and played like Wild Rover or something, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Which was weird to hear them play.
Weird, but it was a good bit of crack. But the gig themselves, I loved every second of it. And they didn't let me, it's 4 times seeing them, and I still didn't get sick of it. Like, so that'll tell you something, I suppose.
4 times, Jesus. That was actually my first time seeing them.
Yeah.
And I've liked them all them years. That was actually the first opportunity I got to go see him, and I was delighted then that it was in Slane, because as you know yourself, Slane is like the ultimate concert venue in Ireland.
That was my first
especially
time
for rock music.
Exactly, yeah. It's a brilliant place. Actually have a bit of Slane whiskey here as well. Right job. They make it up at the castle. Oh, it's lovely stuff.
I'll have to try that.
Do. But yeah, I was on a bus with some lads, and some of the lads came back after the gig. It was like, oh, geez, that was cat. Didn't like it all together. Like, we had the same gig as I was. What are you talking about? But I don't know. I loved it.
Yeah. I remember walking out the gates, and the security were on a megaphone announcing that AC/DC were playing the following summer at Slane. But of course, it hadn't been announced or anything. And I think at that stage, AC/DC were on hiatus. They had retired or something.
Before Axl Rose started singing for him.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting to see, I say, wouldn't it? Axl Rose.
It would, yeah. Yeah, I don't know though. He doesn't really have the same, like, he was never a really skillful singer now. He always had that real screechy voice. But you don't know, it might fit in well for AC/DC.
Yeah. I think I saw 1 or 2 clips of him doing it, singing with him, and it seemed to work okay anyway. So it'd be cool to see it in real life. God knows if we ever get that chance again.
I know. Jeez, I have tickets to go see Guns N' Roses in May. It was supposed to be May of last year, and it got put forward to May this year, but it's obviously not going to happen again. Yeah. Which is a pity. But there's one thing about the Metallica.
We're on the topic of Guns N' Roses. Sorry. We're on the topic. What did you think of the conspiracy? What's it called? The Chinese democracy. What did you think of it?
It was all right. It wasn't. I wouldn't be a lover of it. It was okay, but obviously it wasn't as good as their older stuff. What about yourself?
Oh yeah. I enjoyed it. Like, it's not the same as Appetite for Destruction, like, by any means at all, of course, but it is for what it is. I really enjoyed it. Like, it's some real catchy shit in it, and there's a lot of like electronic synths and things in it, but it kind of works. If you don't, I suppose if you're not scrutinizing it too much, then you might enjoy it, because that's the way I kind of approach everything. Keep manage expectations.
Yeah, exactly. But back to Metallica, I remember thinking, I was kind of shocked when they came out on stage, and I thought, has James Hetfield like aged about 20 years over the last year? He looked really old, didn't he?
Actually, yeah. Didn't he have kind of, I can't remember now, did he have longer hair and kind of longer handlebar mustaches and stuff? Yeah, he did look.
And his hair was like almost white and kind of balding, and it was like he looked about 70, 75.
Yeah. I think he was having issues again with the whole addictions and stuff. I think he went into rehab.
It wasn't. It was only a couple of months later, wasn't it? He went in.
Like that, yeah. So he wasn't probably at the best of his, at the peak of his health, I suppose you could say.
Yeah.
So
Well,
he put on a good show at the same time.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. But if you had to pick one song then that's linked to this memory, for this gig.
Okay.
Which would it be?
So, I'd say upon Square Hammer by Ghost.
Oh, good choice.
We go for a different one than Metallica, because I remember just absolutely, like, I really listened to the band a few months coming up to it, and I just fell in love with them. So I was here absolutely singing my heart out, with the crowd, and we're all loving it. It's just, that synchronicity, that feeling that, obviously we're missing it now, but everyone's singing together, and
it's like that camaraderie.
Yeah. Everyone's into it. Everyone is like one.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But yeah, that was a good one. Square Hammer. That's good. If you haven't heard Ghost before, that's a good one to start on.
It is. It's a very good intro to them. I love that about concerts, though. I was just saying to another guest the other night. It's like, in its simplest form, concerts, everybody is friends. You're all one big family. And there's not many other areas of life that you'd be like that with people, with strangers. You're going to get on with everybody at a concert, and your family for that hour and a half, 2 hours that it's on.
Yeah, exactly. And I talked about this on the other podcast, during like social dancing. If you ever was at a social dancing event, the country ones, think of like Strictly Ballroom, where they're coming in and they're all like dolled up and they're doing the steps and they're spinning around and they're really, really serious about it. And if you get in the way, you will get smacked and knocked the fuck out almost. And I joke that it's almost feel safer in the middle of a mosh pit than I would on a social dancing floor, because at least if you go down, people will pick you back up and say, "Hey, we're getting on," and clap in the back and make sure you're okay. Like, you wouldn't have that anywhere else, I don't think. Like, if you go to any other gig or something, people just kind of keep to themselves. I've been to like Independence Festival and stuff, and it's just a different vibe. Whereas you go to a metal festival or, metal gig, everyone's there. We're there for the same reason. We all have the same interests. We can talk to anyone. If you go down, people pick you up. It's just a big happy family. And I'm always telling people, because these metal people, they might look scary, but they're actually fluffy bunnies inside. They're all nice people. Some of the nicest people.
Exactly. Yeah, very true, very true. And to an outsider, like, a metal gig is very intimidating. And I've actually heard people saying, "Geez, I wouldn't go to one of them because you all kick the shit out of each other." And it's like, it's not that at all. You're just jumping around, getting into the music. And as you said, if you go down, a perfect stranger will pick you up and make sure you're all right.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And it's just, there's nothing like it. It's just it's camaraderie, just like you're all one in this field shouting and roaring. Yeah. There's nothing like it. Nothing like it.
Yeah. I was did you ever go to the gigs that were on in the Dunmore?
I was there a few times, yeah. I never got the chance to actually play one, but I got one. I was there many times, yeah.
That was my introduction to mosh pits. I remember everyone used to be trying to pull the chairs, the like row of chairs off the floor, and all they were like bolted to the chair or bolted to the floors, but everyone was trying to pull them off and going nuts all together. But again, like that, like we were killing each other, but we were best friends.
Exactly. Yeah. And I do remember I have one memory from that. We're doing a wall of death where basically you line up at either side and you run to each other and you smack bang each other in the center. And I was lined up with this guy, and there's only like maybe 10 of us on either side. So it wasn't a huge thing or anything like that. But I was on the far side across from this guy, and we're like looking at each other. It's like, okay, we're going for this now, right? We're going for this. And we start running at each other. And this fecker, he was a tall fecker, and he was, kind of heavy. So he was, I was in for a pounding anyway. But this fella, last minute, he jumped, and my head caught the side of his hip, and it nearly knocked out. I don't know why he would jump at the last minute, but anyway, he did, and I nearly got floored. But it was all good. We had a good laugh after,
Yeah. I've often thought I'd love to find some of the bands that played them gigs and see what they're up to now.
Yeah.
I can't really remember one. I can probably remember one or two of them, but that's about it.
Yeah, there's 6 Feet or Above Ground was a band that played a few times. Friends of mine that were from Kilkenny, and I think there's a few like Rune, Age of Rune or something. There's another big band that played there, something like that. Rune or
Yeah.
I could be completely off base with that one, but yeah, there were some really, really good bands playing there.
There was.
We had the kind of equivalent. I'm more New Ross. I'm kind of based there. So we had the kind of equivalent in New Ross at St. Michael's Theatre. So we had a lot of metal gigs. I played there a good few times, playing Trivium and Arch Enemy and Lamb of God and all that kind of stuff up on the theatre stage. So I did a good few gigs there. But never got to play in the Dunmore for some reason. But went to loads of gigs there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was great. Those are the days. Like, there's nothing like that anymore, is there? Like, there's
actually not for teenagers
even
now.
Before the pandemic, obviously. But like,
no, I'm sure the Dunmore, I think, is going to be knocked down in Ireland, or knocked down back in Wexford. I don't think it's going to be around much longer. And sure, there hasn't been a gig on there, I'd say, in about 10, 15 years.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's such a shame. It's such a good community. Like, going out with your friends on a Saturday night or whatever it was, and just there's not like that anymore. Except for fucking discos or whatever. That was never my scene.
No, me neither.
No name discos and all that kind. I'd much rather go see a local metal band.
Yeah, that's it exactly. I had no interest in going to teenage discos and all like that, but I was at every gig every Saturday night down there. Yeah. Well, I think I actually found the teenage discos intimidating because the crowd that went there seemed like they were just there to cause trouble. But then the crowd that went to the gigs were completely different, Yeah.
We're all, just, how are you getting on? Good to see you again. It's all happy family.
Exactly.
I actually remember there was one time we were waiting for the Dunmore gig or something that night, but we heard there was a rumour going around town that Dragon Force was playing in the Dunmore. Do you remember this rumour at all, no?
No, I don't actually.
No. So I remember going into like BPM or the record shops where you buy your tickets, and they're thinking, is Dragon Force playing at Dunmore? And we're all like, asking around, and they were like, oh, I think so. I'm not too sure though. They're like having us on or whatever. But that was like the big, the big rumor of the day at the time. I still remember it to this day, but it didn't happen, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think now if it had, I definitely would have remembered that one.
Yeah, you would have. Yeah, definitely.
But we'll move on to your worst concert experience. So,
all right, okay. Well, I suppose I have kind of two, but they're not because the bands were bad or performance was bad or sound was bad or anything like that. It was actually because I ended up missing the bands for two different reasons. So there's one particular gig, I went up to see a band called Grand Mages. I think they're from Sweden. I can't, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're kind of a hard rock, kind of Viking rock kind of a band.
Right.
And I was going up to visit my friend who lived up there called Owen, and unfortunately he's since passed away in a motorcycle accident. But I went up to visit him, and as soon as I was in the door, he had lined up all these shots of vodka on the table. So here we are slamming these shots of vodka. Like, must have had like 5 or 6 each. And I wasn't a vodka drinker at the time, I wouldn't be able to put it away. Still wouldn't be able to put that much away. So we were buzzing, absolutely buzzing. So we went to the gig, I think it was Fibber McGee's. I can't remember. I was very drunk. But we got there anyway, and the support bands came on. And sure, me and him were up at the front, kind of going mad for the support bands and headbanging and, drinking pints and stuff. So I ended up feeling very, very sick. Not too long after that, jumping around the place on, vodka and whatever. So I ended up very sick, and I went to the bathroom anyway. I ended up passing out in the bathroom.
Oh, shit.
And I woke up. Like when I went into the bathroom, it was the start of the night, there was no one there. And when I woke up then, there was like, I came out of the cubicle, and there's like 5 or 6 people waiting around. There's the guy at the sink with the lollipops and the perfume, the aftershave and all this kind of stuff. And they're all looking at me. It's like, oh shit, what happened, lads? So I think there was only 2 cubicles in the place as well. So I was sitting there for must have been 2 hours. I'd say I was passed out. I'm surprised no one, got in at me or something like that.
Yeah.
And this is the only time that ever happened to me as well. So I'm kind of wary about telling it. But anyway, shit happens. So I got out anyway, and I kind of come to my senses a bit, and I found my friend, and they've Owen, oh, jeez, I'm ready to see Grand Mages. I'm feeling better. And he goes, they're just finished. And Jesus. Oh. I was devastated. So then he had the trouble of getting me home. That was fun. But another gig, similar kind of, well, not similar situation, but went up to Dublin to see Arch Enemy, which is another metal band from Scandinavia. And so I ended up going to a friend's house. were sitting down having a few cans, having the chat, whatever. Me thinking that he was in Dublin, but me thinking he wasn't too far from Dublin. We ended up, it was like a 40-minute bus drive to get to the centre of Dublin. I think we were going to the Academy, I think it was. I can't remember now. But we ended up, we got there. We spent 40 minutes on the bus. By the time we got there, we were bursting for a piss from all the cans. So we had to go find a McDonald's to go to the bathroom. And sure, we're in McDonald's, we might as well get a burger. And so we got to the gig, and I came in, and I recognized one of my good mates from a metal band that I played in years ago. And I said, "Hey man, how are you getting on? I can't wait to see Arch Enemy." And he was, "They're just finished."
Oh, for fuck's sake.
God, my heart was through the fucking floor again. But apparently they were doing some sort of a circus-themed club thing that night. So they pushed the gig forward like an hour or two. And Arch Enemy were the band I was going to see, but I thought they were headlining. So I thought we'd get there in time, but they weren't. There was like Creator was the headliner, and I wasn't a huge fan of them, right? And so we got there and we're like sipping our pints, listening to Creator, and they're good and all, but they're no Arch Enemy. So we ended up just going off. But I did actually meet half the band that night.
Really?
Went back to the Academy and went downstairs. We're like having like a metal disco almost, and playing Korn and stuff. But yeah, some of the members were sitting there having the chats with people, and so I just went up to say, "Hey man, we're devastated, I miss your gig," and all this kind of stuff. But that was kind of cool. I ended up getting to meet half the band. That was cool, at least. If I didn't, still haven't seen them, but sure.
I'm sure that's an opener, a conversation opener they rarely hear. Yeah. "I'm sorry, I missed your gig." You know, I'm sure everyone else was like, "Oh, great gig." But here you come. "Sorry, I missed your gig."
That's it.
So you definitely had their attention, I'd say.
So it was good. It was good crack in the end after we had a good night. Even though I missed the two bands of, mad to see.
Yeah.
But such is life, I suppose.
That's always my worst fear, to miss a band. Like be going there, especially if it's in Dublin, because the journey up is long. But if you get in there, or I'm always afraid of something going wrong and you're not making it,
Yeah.
Or I know a fella who he lives in Waterford, and he got tickets to, I couldn't tell you who it was now. It's some rapper or pop star. Got tickets to go up and see them, and bought them off Dundeel. Now, for people that don't know, Dundeel is like the Irish Craigslist, I suppose. But he bought the tickets 6 months before, went up with his friends, got to the security guard at the main door. He scanned the ticket and he was like, "Yeah, you've been had. You're not getting in here. These are fake."
Yeah. So, that's awful.
I'm always very wary buying tickets.
Yeah. Jeez, yeah. If I don't get them from the legitimate source, I just leave it.
Yeah, exactly.
But unless there's obviously a band you really, really need to see, but yeah.
Even at that, I don't know if I'd take the risk.
It's a risk already. But there's one actually other time I went to see Rodrigo y Gabriela. Do you remember those? They're kind of the Mexican,
I do.
Almost like flamenco players. Yeah, I went to see them in
I used to love
Kilkenny.
them.
Yeah, they're fantastic. But I went to see them in Kilkenny, and we're up like pretty much front row. And they were during like quiet acoustic, basically just them and acoustic guitar. So it's not a hugely loud gig. But I was like two people from the front, and there's a couple standing behind us, and they were loudly shouting at each, having a huge conversation. And we're like, "Lads, there's this like quiet, delicate acoustic music being played 5 feet from your heads, and you're here going, Mary, how are you getting on?" Whatever the fuck we're talking about. And, you end up going around, shush, will you, for fuck's sake. And your man nearly started a fight on me and stuff, but another friend was there and we kind of calmed the situation now. It didn't lead to fisticuffs, thankfully, but it was such a weird, like it just ruined the vibe straight away. I was like, fuck's sake, I was pissed off. And then this fella's trying to start a fight on me. It's like, you're hearing this beautiful music in front of you, and then you want to start a fight. You're like, Jesus. I even remember Gabriella looking up at one point. She looked up and said, what's the commotion going on? I was like, sorry. Don't mind us.
I can't stand that though, especially like at indoor gigs or anything like that. When people start just fucking talking loudly or shouting and roaring and stuff like that, you're not there for that, like, and you're going to ruin everyone else's evening,
Yeah. This actually reminds me of another time. I have tons of stories for you. I could go off in tangents for hours. I went to see a band called Hudson Taylor. They're a band from Dublin. kind of a, I suppose, indie rock pop kind of a band, but I really like them as well. I went to see them in Kilkenny, and there was a part in this of the show where they kind of got everyone to quieten down. They wanted everyone just to, collectively, everyone will have a hush, and then they'll put away their microphones and they try to play a song acoustically on the stage, just, for shits and giggles. But from the side door, this one was coming in from the smoking area, and she obviously hadn't got the memo. And she came in, and everyone was silent, dead silent. And she came in and said, "What the fuck is going on in here?" And everyone's like looking around, "Would you shut up?" So it was just a good laugh.
Oh. They'd be a good band to see as well, though, I'd say, are they? I'd say they're good fun.
Yeah. Oh, they're brilliant. Really good fun. And they actually brought out... they had their fiddle player, and they started playing like AC/DC back in black at one point as well, which is unexpected from them. But
yeah, you wouldn't expect that.
It was really good. Yeah, they're a very good band. I think that's most of my stories in regards to bad gigs.
Yeah. Jeez. So your best concert experience then?
Yeah, there's lots. I suppose a few stories again. Okay, it's hard to pick one, but probably the best was seeing Metallica. I think it was 2009. I can't remember exactly. I'm terrible with years, but there was the year that they played. It was the Download Festival. Do you remember this? They did the Download Festival in Ireland. Yeah, it was Metallica on a Friday and Guns N' Roses on the Sunday night or something like that. So there was nothing on the Saturday, and there was no camping or anything. So it wasn't really, the Download Festival. Yeah. But anyway, there was good bands on. Like I went to see Stone Sour and Avenged Sevenfold were playing, and Alice in Chains and all this kind of stuff. And it was class. And then Metallica came on, but it was like the 25th anniversary of Master Puppets.
Right.
And I was, this was a gig that we had actually queued for 9 hours to get into. We got there like 4:30 in the morning, because I went up on a bus with a few mates, and someone had the idea of getting there really early so we get into the pit, which it ended up savage. But we were queuing for 9 hours, and we were just like in the heat as well, like the June heat, and we're all like, sitting against the barricades, absolutely dying. And I remember this one guy walking around in full leather jacket and full wool hat and all this kind of stuff. I was like, how is he not dead? Yeah. But eventually I was actually one of the first 50 to get our bracelets to get into the pit. So we were right up at the bar, the barricade. Yeah. So when Metallica came out, I could literally, throw something at James Hetfield, and he hit, I wouldn't obviously throw it, but he was like right there, let's say. Yeah. He was right there. And then they announced, there's a special occasion, this is the 25th anniversary of Master Puppets, and we're going to play it for you, start to finish. And I nearly died. I was so happy. It started off, I was like nearly crying. I was so happy. And so they played the whole album, start to finish. Absolutely loved it. And at the end of the gig, they were throwing out picks, and I was like, trying to grab them. And if you ever nearly grab them, they kind of, you touch your finger and it bounces away, and then someone behind you get it instead of you. But for some reason, I put my hand up to grab it. I felt it touch off my hand, and I thought, I kind of sensed that it dropped straight down. I was like, okay, I can't really look now because I'm just packed in like sardine in a tin. So when people start clearing, I'll hold my space. I'm not moving from this spot. And then as soon as people start clearing, I kind of step back, and lo and behold, right between my feet was the white pick with the Master Puppets album cover on it, and 25th year anniversary written onto it. So I have that. I haven't got it to show you, but it's there somewhere. So that was unreal experience. Just to be that close to the band and to hear Master Puppets from start to finish, it was just monumental. Yeah, were you at that one, or no? Slane was your first one, wasn't it? Sorry, yeah.
My first one. I would love to have been at that. That sounds like it's actually one of the best concert experiences. Now I've heard quite a few on the podcast, but it'd be definitely up there.
Yeah. So the other one doesn't really pale in comparison. There was this 1 week, I think it was 2017, where 3 bands were coming to Dublin, all in the space of 1 week. It was Gojira, Alter Bridge, and Devin Townsend, which are some of my absolute favorite bands. They're all playing, like, one was on a Monday, one was on a Wednesday, one was on a Thursday or something like that. But I was working at the time as well in New Ross. So I didn't want to take the days off. Don't think I had any holidays left. So I basically drove up each night and drove back down. And, you know, it was tough going, but it was a week of gigs that I remember for the rest of my life. And it was absolutely...
Jesus.
Like,
and you made it to work every day and everything.
I made it to work, and there was one of the nights where I wasn't driving. There was a friend of mine driving, a neighbour of mine. So he drove up, and I had plenty of drink. So I went to work the next day very hungover. Head was on the desk for a lot of the day, but got through it. Through it, and then went to Devon Townsend the next night or something like that. It was crazy. I don't know how I managed to do it, but I did it anyway.
It's one of them things, though, when you are a music person, like, you'd put your body through that to actually have that experience. Exactly.
And as I said, like, it's nothing like being in front of a metal band or rock band and everyone's together, and it's like, it's just like addictive. You do anything you can to get there and be part of it. Exactly.
If you had to pick a song, then that'd be linked to this memory.
I'd say go for Devon Townsend song.
Right.
Kingdom. Are you familiar with Devon Townsend at all?
Not really, no.
No. He's this Canadian guy. He's like this musical genius in every sense of the word. I'm not throwing that around willy-nilly either.
Right.
He was in this band called Strapping Young Lad years ago. You've probably seen a picture. He had like a skullet where he had like dreadlocks and he was bald on top.
Right.
But that was a really heavy band. But then in recent years, he had his own projects where he's doing the Devon Townsend project and this kind of stuff where it's metal as hell, but it's like almost operatic singing and just like really intricate arrangements, and there's a lot of choirs, and it's just huge sound. It's a big wall of sound, and it's just blow your head off. It's so good. So Kingdom from I can't remember. There's two versions out there, so I'll have to show you the right one, because there's an older version that's not so good. Then he redid it a few years later, and it's like top notch.
Right.
So it's, but that'd be definitely a good song to put on there.
Yeah. And how'd you get into him? Were you a fan of Strapping Young Lad, and then obviously just led
Strapping Young Lad back in the day? I think I heard the song "Love?" for the first time, and the video was like, the Evil Dead. The video. The band was playing in a cabin, like the Evil Dead cabin, and it was like a VHS style picture, and it was like flying around them and all this kind of stuff. And the song was heavy as fuck, so it's like, I'm onto this guy. He's cool, and he like screams and he sings. He's just, if you hear the song Kingdom, you will be blown away. I can't count the amount of times I've been at a house party, and the only way television be on the car and YouTube be playing the music videos and stuff, and there'd be like metalheads there'd be metalheads in the room, but there'd be people that wouldn't be metalheads at all. And I go, lads, have you ever heard this singer, Devon Townsend? And I stick the video on. It's him singing Kingdom live for like EMG TV or something like that. And he sings like really operatic, like blow your head, you blow your mind. And everyone that I showed it to was just like, wow, he is insane. Like, he's like one of the best performers. And he's like the ultimate showman as well. Even if you watch that video, you can tell this guy is entertaining as hell. He knows what he's doing. He's been at it for decades. And he actually sang for Steve Vai back in the day. You remember Steve Vai? He's a guitarist.
Yeah.
And he had Devon Townsend was his singer for like an album or two albums or something like that. So he has a rich history in music and metal and stuff as well. So definitely, if listeners have never heard this guy, I would recommend him wholeheartedly. He's like one of my hugest, musical influences, and he actually released a country album one time as well. So
really,
so it's all good. Yeah. He's a very diverse guy. Very diverse guy. He's all sorts of different types of music. Yeah, definitely look him up, because you'll get lost in his music. It's unreal.
Yeah, I'll have to add him to the list. That's the thing about this show. Every episode, I have more singers and bands added to the list that I haven't heard of or that I need to look more into. So I'll have to take like about 6 months off work just to go on a deep dive of music.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is one I throw out now and again. It's some people find it a very hard question, What's your favorite concert experience that has nothing to do with the band or the performer you've seen?
That's a good question. I suppose there was a band playing, but the thing that happened is kind of related, I guess. But we went to see at the Download Festival where Metallica were playing. They had another tent, a second stage. Had like it's like a circus tent off to the side.
Yeah.
And there was other bands playing in there, and Stone Sour were playing in there. It was like Corey Taylor's other band, apart from Slipknot. And sure, I was a huge fan of him, of course. And we went to see him, me and my friend, and we were stood at basically the entrance to the tent, and that's as far as we could go because it was so packed. And there's probably 2,000 people maybe in the tent. I'm horrible at that. I'm like Dougal. I'd say there's about 1 million of them out there. I don't know. But so we couldn't get in. Like, we were just kind of watching from the outside pretty much. But then as soon as the band started playing, circle mosh pits happened. And whatever, we got caught up in it, and we all of a sudden got right up to the front, right in front of Corey Taylor.
Oh, man.
I can nearly touch him. Like, then of course we're there for a few minutes, absolutely pinned, absolutely, you're at a gig and you can't breathe almost. So we ended up joining the circle mosh pit and kind of going back to somewhere a bit more comfortable. But that was probably the coolest experience at a gig.
Sounds like a big carousel almost.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and somehow we got from the very back right to the front. I don't know how that happened, but it did.
Oh man,
it was a great show.
If you had to pick Slipknot or Stone Sour, which would it be?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Stone Sour, their first album was like the best. It was like they kind of went a bit, like the second album was good, it had some great songs on, but then they kind of went a bit too soft rock, maybe. So, and Slipknot did as well, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I suppose, Slipknot is number one for me, I suppose, going back to earlier albums. The first 3 albums were just lovely. And then they kind of went a bit radio rock.
Yeah, they really did. They calmed down a lot.
Yeah. So, Slipknot, definitely. So I was lucky to see both bands and, both incarnations. And
true,
actually.
actually.
I was enjoyed the crap out of it. So,
which one are better live? I have a feeling you're going to say Slipknot.
Oh, yeah, Slipknot. Definitely, because there's 9 of them up on the stage. They put on a bigger show, and there's, definitely Slipknot, definitely for sure.
Right. We'll get slightly more personal now. So, if you could quarantine with any artist, living or dead, for 24 hours, just the two of you locked in a room, who would it be?
Johnny Cash.
Right.
Johnny Cash, because he's probably been my number one country influence. We've been talking about metal for a long time now, but we'll come back to country now for a while.
No bother.
But Johnny Cash, he's just such obviously an interesting character. He went through so much in his life. He'd be a font of wisdom, and even just jamming out. If we're lucky enough to have a few guitars with us, I'm sure we'd jam out a few songs and maybe write a few or something. You never know. So definitely Johnny Cash. He'd have some stories to tell, I'd say.
Oh, he really would. He'd be, I'd love to have that experience myself. I love Johnny Cash as well. But I think 24 hours wouldn't be enough with him though. No,
Jesus, no. He's such an intriguing man. So many ups and downs in his life. I was actually just reading his autobiography as well, and he talks about the time he was so strung out on pills, and he's like, he was so fed up of life that he ended up crawling into a cave and basically crawl in and die. That was the plan. But he basically, kept crawling into this cave, or it's this cave that went for miles and miles, and it was like tunnels, and you just get lost. And kept crawling. His torch died, but he kept crawling into the darkness, and he just laid there for a while, probably a long while. I'm not sure exactly, but then he felt the spirit of God and whatever about that, but he felt the motivation to go, just to maybe turn around and crawl, just keep crawling and see if he could get out. And he's like, but there was like these precipices and stuff. He could have easily have fallen down. So he was like crawling with his hands out in front of him, feeling the ground really, gently. But he ended up seeing the light at the end of the the tunnel almost, and he got out, and there was June Carter waiting for him with a picnic basket, and it's like, we were afraid for you, Johnny. Where were you? Yeah, right. So that's an amazing story, like. And he once he came out, then he kind of turned his life around and found God and did all gospel albums and all this kind of stuff. But he would have been an absolutely intriguing man to talk to, or to even just to meet, just to say hello to.
Yeah, he really would have. Like, even that film, Walk the Line. Yeah. I feel like that could have about 5 or 6 sequels to it. It covered his whole life, but it didn't cover enough, He had that much of an amazing life, and there's so many different aspects to him. Yeah,
exactly. I must go back. I haven't watched that in a long time. I love the Get Hard, the John C. Reilly film.
Yeah.
That's really good. Or Walk Hard. Not Get Hard. Walk Hard.
Oh, yeah.
That's something else. That's good. It's like obviously a parody film with Johnny Cash and like the Beach Boys and all this kind of stuff, but it's brilliant as well.
Yeah. How did you get into Johnny Cash then, or do you remember the first time you ever heard him?
I think do you know the way, like when you're younger, you just go into CD shops like BPM and Golden Discs and all this kind of crack. You just go flicking through CDs. And I saw this guy, Johnny Cash, best of. It's like, I've heard of this fella. I think like a lot of people I listen to, like music, kind of talk about this guy. And I was like, I might give him a go. So bought the album and never looked back. I still have it, like, and I still stick it on the car every now and again. Just absolutely, I could be listening to Metallica 1 second and then I stick on Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
It's just he had that voice. It's like metal, but wasn't anyway metal at all. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I don't even know if that makes sense, but
no,
it's like,
it does.
Yeah. It's like a metalhead's country, metalhead's acoustic singer or something.
Yeah. No, I get you.
So I definitely related to him in this style, and obviously now I sing a lot of his songs and stuff as well, and it's a huge influence on any songs I write and anything like that. So it's,
what would your top 3 influence. Johnny Cash songs be?
Get Rhythm, that's a great one. And then you had, I suppose, Rock Island Line, that's a good one. If you ever heard that one, it kind of, he starts off slow and it's like a train building up speed. So by the end of it, it's like, oh, Rock Island Line. He keeps going faster and faster and faster and faster. Then I suppose when he went to the Highwayman, and he started that super group with Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings and Chris Christopherson.
Yeah.
So they have the song called The Highwayman, and that's like one of the best country songs. Even if you're a metalhead, even if you like fucking pop or dance or whatever, if you listen to the song, you're like, wow, that is a song and a half.
It really is. Yeah.
So those are probably top 3, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's a hard choice because he obviously has so many albums and so many great songs. So it's
I think it's almost, he's one of them singers you'd have to actually, you wouldn't be able to name your top 3. You'd have to be like, right, my top 3 when I'm in what mood,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like,
or a Thing Called Love is another great one. It's like a gospel song. It's like happy singing along type one, but it's really catchy.
Yeah.
There's just so many. Like, Give My Love to Rose. That's a real slow, sad song. And I could go on and on.
What do you think of was it the American recordings? The album that came out just before he died.
He did he did Rusty Cage, Soundgarden. And he'd One by U2. He did Hurt.
Yeah.
Of course, Trent Reznor, 9 Inch Nails. Hurt, I played that song many times live, and and Rick Rubin produced the album as well. So it's a great sound on the album. He did The Man Comes Around. It was on like do you remember the zombie film Dawn of the Dead? And
yes, actually.
The intro is Johnny Cash singing The Man Comes Around. It's apocalyptic and it's good vibe.
Yeah. Or there's a good one. I think it's on that album as well. I Hung My Head. Have you heard that one?
Rings a bell, but I can't take it off the top of my head now.
That'd be one of my favorite Johnny Cash songs. Now it's kind of slow and it's a bit sad, but it's a good one.
Yeah. Or the Man in Black, like why do I wear these colors on my back?
Yeah.
For all the people in need and all the poor people and all this kind of stuff. It's just every song you can just pick.
Yeah.
Cover your eyes and go, pinpoint. Pins
exactly.
in the donkey, and you find it.
Exactly.
Song,
yeah, but he's one of them performers as well that when you're younger, you wouldn't be embarrassed to say that you like Johnny Cash. He's like, no matter what age you are, he's always kind of been a cool artist to be into.
Exactly. Yeah. And like country kind of gets that bad rap.
Yeah.
Where it's not very cool, and it's it's old timey music and all this kind of stuff. But like, it's really not. It's like it's really cool type of music as well. You have your Johnny Cash, you have Willie Nelson. Like, Willie Nelson's another guy that he's no one would say he's not cool. He's like one of the coolest motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And then like even like the newest generation of country come from America. You have Coulter Wall. If you never heard this guy, he's a guy from Canada actually, and like you have like loads of stars out there, like say Jason Momoa or like Brock Lesnar, or all these guys are naming him as their favorite singer.
Really?
And he's this like 23-year-old guy, and it's like really deep voice and really, really, really old style vintage kind of songs and stuff like that. And I'd love to see him someday. And then you have like Sturgill Simpson as well. Have you ever heard of that guy?
The name rings a bell.
Yeah. He put out an album a year or two ago called The Sound and Fury, which was he's a country singer, but this album was like a rock and roll album. But on Netflix, he actually went to Japan and he got these animators to basically create an anime film as like an accompaniment to the album.
Right.
So you can go onto Netflix and type in Sound and Fury and you'll see this whole like hour-long film, and the soundtrack is the album from start to finish, but the animation is like the story as it goes, and it's wild and wacky as you'd expect from like, a Japanese manga or Japanese anime. And so he's I actually missed him. He played in, I think it was January or February of last year in Dublin.
Oh.
And I should have went, and I didn't go for whatever fucking reason, and I really regret not going. So yeah, just like, country is actually really cool if you look at the right places. Obviously there's stuff that's not so cool and cheesy as hell and all that kind of stuff, but just really good stuff. And even if you're a rockhead, metalhead, whatever, you would appreciate this stuff. It is just like, almost like metal lyrics to some of it. Like there's, hard hitting, deep, good lyrics, so
is that a common occurrence for country singers to come to Dublin? Maybe it is now, and I wouldn't be that into country, so it seems strange to me, but I never really hear of country singers playing in Ireland.
Not much, actually. I guess so. Like you had, I suppose, Chris Stapleton. He came. There's a big thing on the Tree Arena, and I didn't go to it as well. And Matt didn't go to it. Chris Stapleton's another big influence on me. He did like Tennessee Whiskey, and he's a real soulful guy, real soulful voice. If you heard his voice, you'd know exactly, that's Chris Stapleton. He's phenomenal. But I've only heard of like him and Sturgill Simpson, and not much else. No, like you wouldn't really hear of other American singers come over all that often. So maybe they have that worldwide reach that they could do it, maybe. But mostly you wouldn't hear these singers coming over. I suppose you would have like Brad Paisley and these kind of guys, big guys, and Garth Brooks and that whole
thing.
That few years. When was that? Like 5 or 6 years ago at this stage, wasn't it?
It was like 2013 or 14, was it?
Yeah.
Did you have tickets?
I didn't. I wasn't a big fan at the time, but I am now. I really. He's that kind of polarizing kind of character, maybe. Yeah. Some people. But once you get into the songs, it's like, wow, this guy, he's something else. He really is. Like there's some like if you listen to the song "The Thunder Rolls," you will like get shivers every time. Yeah, it's unbelievable. But I would love to see him back in the day if I had got a ticket. If the gigs had gone ahead, obviously. But maybe someday if he'd probably never even come back because I'm not going to deal with Ireland anymore.
I'd say I'd say he's not very fond of Ireland now.
Yeah. Even though he had 4 sellout nights. Yeah. And, just the what was it? The people around the place were giving out.
Yeah, all the people that lived around objected to it, didn't they? Because they can only put on 3 gigs there throughout the year or something, I think.
something like that. And they were like 4 nights in a row, which is, understandable. Like if you lived there and you weren't a big fan of concerts, you had people streaming past your house at all hours of the night and you had hugely loud music going on behind you and all this. It's understandable. But yeah, I think the organisers really should have gone like the fucking RDS or
what they could have done was play 2 nights there and maybe go down as far as Cork and play 2 nights there.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
There was definitely something that could have been done about it.
Yeah. Sure. Look, it's done now anyway.
Yeah.
What can you do?
And what would you think of Chris Christopherson then as a solo performer?
Yeah, I've never seen him live. I did hear your story where you went to see him and he wasn't so interactive. He just got up and played. But his songwriting he's one of the best songwriters in country music by far. Whatever about his performance wise, he's obviously an old man. He's like 85 or something now, or even older. I don't know. But like back in the day, he was a phenomenal songwriter. And he was a movie actor as well. He was in like what's that film that Bradley Cooper?
A Star Is Born. He was in the original. Well, it wasn't the original. It's been made 3 or 4 times. But yeah, he was in the 60s version, wasn't he?
Him and Barbra Streisand.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a great actor. He's a great singer, a great lyricist. He's unbelievable. But yeah, maybe in later years he wasn't such a great performer.
Yeah, like I'd love to have been able to see him when he was younger, years ago, and compare it to when I seen him, because like you're right, he is a very good lyricist, but he's probably a bit too old now to be, like I wasn't expecting him to be jumping around the stage or anything. But as I said in the interview, if he had been telling stories between the songs, you know, like the life he has got some stories to tell, I'd say. Oh,
definitely does. And it's kind of, I suppose, like Willie Nelson as well. He's still playing gigs when he can. Like he doesn't go on tours right now. But he has his ranch, and he basically has a stage, and he kind of rolls out the house into his home, and then goes up on the stage and plays to the audience that collected there. But he does this thing now where if you ever see any recent live videos, he kind of sings ahead of the beat.
Right.
All the time. And it's kind of annoying, but you kind of get used to it. But he does that weird thing now. But at least he's still on form. He's I'd love to see him, but I don't know if that's going to happen now anytime soon. And sure, he probably he's up in his age as well.
Yeah, so he must be in his 80s now as well, is he?
Yeah, I'd say mid 80s, or I don't know. It's hard to know anymore. But
he seems like one though that he kind of keeps current.
Yeah. He actually released he released an album there recently. He did a few Frank Sinatra songs and this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, he's still at it.
There was a song that came out before Christmas. It was a duet. I'm trying to think of what it was. It was with some up and coming singer now, pop singer. Under Pressure, was it? A cover of Queen and David Bowie's. It was interesting. Now it was a good one.
Yeah, geez, I'll look it up. So that's interesting. Yeah, he still has the voice anyway for the recording and stuff. Well, as you would when you're 80, but he still can. He can still deliver. Yeah. At the same time. But
I always think of that meme with him and Keith Richards. It's like, be careful what you do with the earth. We have to leave it for Keith Richards, and because the two of them are never going to die apparently.
No. And do you ever hear the story of him? Back in the day, he went to visit the White House. I think Jimmy Carter was the president at the time, and he managed to, he met Jimmy Carter's son or something like that, I think, and the two of them went up to the roof of the White House and they started smoking an LJ and on the roof of the White House.
Oh, Jesus.
And I think he got away with it anyway, no matter what. He was with the president's son, so fair play to him. Anyway. He's an absolute legend.
Yeah.
And there's like some tour stories of him and Waylon Jennings. Waylon Jennings, of course, is another huge influence on me and mine. If you don't know him, if you ever watched the Dukes of Hazzard back in the day, he was the guy singing the intro.
Yeah.
And he did the narration as well. So he has that real, that
real country sound.
Yeah, that real accent and everything. He's unreal. And the two of them used to tour together for years and years. But Waylon was on the White Stuff. And his crew was on the White Stuff. All his crew and all, they were on the White Stuff. But Willie and his crew were on the Green Stuff. But they kind of got on. But the thing is, if Waylon found any of his crew on the green, he'd fire him. And likewise, if Willie found any of his guys on the white stuff, he'd fire them. It was a weird mix. Weird dynamic, but it worked. So, and they have there was some tons of crazy wild stories and stuff from the day. They were like they were the outlaw of country as well. Like with country, there's so many different types. There's like the Nashville polished poppy sound, and then you had their outlaws like Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson. When they had their own sound, they did things their own way. They had their own tour buses. They had their rock star lifestyle. They had it was cuckoo bananas. It was something else altogether. Would love seeing them back in the day.
Yeah. Would I be right in saying Waylon Jennings was the guy that was supposed to be on Buddy Holly's plane?
That's true. He played bass for Buddy Holly.
Yeah, and he flipped the coin and lost the bet, and Richie Valens got on the plane instead of him.
Yeah, and or was it the Big Bopper? It was one or the two. The three of them were on it, obviously. The three of them were on the plane. I think it was the Big Bopper that got Waylon's seat instead, because I think he had a bit of a flu. Big Bopper had a flu, and the tour bus they were on was like it was like a fridge on wheels pretty much. Yeah. And we're like huddled up, shaking. But yeah, Waylon was like, I'll toss the coin. You're a bit sick. We'll toss the coin and see how it can. So, you got it. Go ahead and I'll run the tour bus. And sure.
Yeah, do you know what
plane went
his
down.
last words to Buddy Holly was?
I do.
Yeah, Buddy Holly said, I'm going to be laughing myself all the way to the other airport, laughing at you, freezing your ass off on the bus. And he said, I hope your plane crashes. Like, imagine how.
Oh, geez, he felt like, I've heard interviews of him talking about it, and I felt so sick after hearing the news, and especially after what he said. But he didn't. It was obviously a joke. It was just, as you say it to your friend, like. That's heartbreaking. Like, hard to come back from something like that. Wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure it hung over him for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. But he went on to be a legend in his own right as well.
Isn't his son a country singer as well, I think?
Yeah, Shooter Jennings. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he has his own country stuff. He's kind of rock and roll influence as well. I think he's produced albums with Marilyn Manson. The world of country is mad. Yeah. It really is. The more you dig into it, it's like crazy stuff you find. And yeah, Shooter, he's great in his own right as well. And yeah, I definitely if no one's heard about him, go listen to him if you can. Yeah, it's great. It's really good. Really good.
How would you compare American country then to Irish country?
Now, I would prefer the American myself,
right?
Especially the outlaw stuff, the that kind of stuff. Whereas, the Irish stuff has its own sound. It's more, I suppose, a diddly-eye kind of sound, I guess. Which is great. It's grand. There's some, obviously fantastic songs out there. But for me, and actually what I find as well when I'm talking to guests on my own podcast, the Folkin Around, like we're talking to a lot of, say, there's some 17-year-olds and 20-year-olds, and they're like people starting off in country. And a lot of these young people actually are way more influenced by the American stuff than the Irish. And I think in Ireland, the Irish country scene, the American stuff is kind of not as popular. It is kind of not, it's not as welcomed. But I think it's kind of, it might have its day. It might be coming around, because all these young people, and myself as well, we're doing this kind of more American influence country. Yeah. And I think it's going to permeate, and it's going to become hopefully a big thing anyway. We'll see how we go.
Yeah, I remember I was shocked to actually find out that I always knew there was like a country scene in Ireland, but I always thought it was like my grandparents and, like old ones going to dances and everything. But I remember seeing a documentary on the TV one night last year or the year before about Ireland's underground country music scene. And it was full of like teenagers, 20s, 30s, 40s, and it was massive. But they seem really die-hard about country music,
They're absolutely fanatics in every sense of the word. Some of them, it's all age ranges, men, women. They're all out dancing, doing the jives and all this kind of crack. And I was surprised as well. I thought it would be, I suppose, a lot of the older generation that would be listen to it. But there's like a lot of my followers are younger people, like younger than I am. So it's crazy. Like, so it's great. It's going to keep going. Like, it's not going to die off anytime soon.
Yeah.
It's going to, especially now when we get gigging again. Hopefully, it's going to shoot to the moon. It's going to be, mad out there. It's going to be. Can't wait.
But have you had a chance to play many gigs before the pandemic?
I was kind of just getting going really on the gigging scene before everyone kind of shut down. I was getting like a lot of local gigs and pubs and stuff, and I got like a residency in Dunbrody House. There was a pub there called The Local, and I kind of got like a regular gig there, but they're shut completely. They're never going to open again.
Really?
Kind of thing. So I'm kind of okay. That's that gig gone, as well as a cool pub con. But I did manage to get up to the north. I have a good friend of mine called Heather, and she's a backing singer. She sings a lot of backing singing or backing vocals on my album, and she lives up in the north. And she managed to get us 2 gigs up there.
Oh.
And one was in a shopping centre. Yeah, one was in a shopping centre, funnily enough. It was in like the main thoroughfare where they usually set up like maybe little orchestras, quartets and things, or choirs and things. But they had a little stage, and she managed to blag her way into getting us the gig. So we set up in the front of the, in this middle of a shopping centre, and me there, strumming out, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, all this kind of stuff. And like people were like, oh, this is actually, they were sitting down, they put out chairs, and I was fully expecting no one to sit down. Like, but yeah, it filled up. People were listening to us. I had a few CDs for sale. They were buying them. They were like, wow, this is actually, this is class.
Jesus.
And people kind of lined up, standing at shop doors looking at us and stuff. And it's like the weirdest place to play a gig.
Yeah.
But it was really enjoyable. And, made some friends that day, and, made some fans hopefully as well. And then, it was great gig. But, it was only, to be honest, just getting started, and then bang, it's like, nope, no more gigs. So
it's a unlucky time really to get started, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's some singers out there that wouldn't have a setup like me. I can record myself, I can produce myself, I can mix myself, all this kind of stuff. A lot of singers wouldn't have that, I suppose, and it's outside of their 5K and all this kind of stuff. So they're kind of stuck, I guess. But I can keep going. Like, I do a full-time job as well, and like yourself, you have to keep going. Yeah. But my spare time, I do to keep working on music, and I started doing this podcast as well. And I tell you, it's a great way of networking. Like, even talking to yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm here interviewing, big names in country music that would never have spoke to, when you go to a gig, you might have a chance of, shaking hands with these people, but now obviously you can't. So, it's cool. It's a really good way to, get out there and meet people and build relationships and stuff. And that's obviously a cornerstone to getting anywhere in the music industry. No matter how good you are, great songwriter you are, it doesn't matter. You have to kind of get out there and shake hands and get to know people, and these people might give you a shot or whatever, and that kind of thing. And hopefully I could help other people, like they get on the podcast, and gives them exposure, and gives me exposure, and all, what's to say, a rising tide raises all ships. That's the way I look at it. Everyone just help each other, instead of, generally sometimes in the music industry it is kind of a thing where it's dog eat dog, and it's all competition and stuff, and like, whereas I'm complete opposite. I was like, as musicians sometimes, generally they're all like, help each other. I'd prefer to jam a song with you than, cut you out of it and say bad things about you or whatever, because that does nothing for anyone. So I'm all about like building a community and helping people, and getting out there and having the crack, poking around.
Yeah. I was actually, that's one thing that really surprised me as well when I started the podcast. It shows how small the world is at the same time, and how accessible people are. Because when I started, I was like, how am I going to get people to come on to the show, And within a couple of weeks, I was getting emails off people asking to come on the show. And, then you're, like you said, you're reaching people that you thought you'd never be able to reach or never be able to talk to, and these people are actually more than happy to come on and talk to you. It's crazy. But
I suppose people they're stuck at home as well. They're not out gigging. They're not like in the country scene, like a lot of big names are gigging 4 or 5 nights a week. Like, it's constant, like, and they don't have the time to sit down for an hour and a half, 2 hour chat or whatever it is. Like, but now they're sitting at home and they're more than able to do it. And the thing is, well, we thought like the girl, Jodie, the girl I do it, she kind of knows a lot of people in the industry. And even she was thinking, oh, I wonder now, will it be hard to get people on? But no, it's like we have like 40 guests in the pipeline.
Jesus.
It's ridiculous. It's amazing. And we have some pretty, big name. I'm not going to say in case it doesn't happen. Knock on wood or anything, but we have some pretty big names that you would definitely recognize, even if you don't know anything about the country scene. They might be coming on as well. So it's kind of, it's going good.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
I always wonder though, it's always in the back of my mind, I wonder what it'll be like now after all this pandemic stuff is over. Will it still be, well, obviously it won't be as easy, but will people still be as accessible and willing to come on,
Yeah, I don't know, because I suppose podcasting itself, it is still new to a lot of people, even though it's really not. It's like it's been going for 10 plus years, like even... I know myself, I'm an absolute addict to podcasts. I have a job where I have my headphones on and I can just listen away all day. So I'm literally listening to 7-8 hours of podcasts a day. I'm nuts. Like I'm subscribed to like 30 or 40 different podcasts or whatever. Like I just listen to them like mad. But I know everyone's not like me. So, it's some people don't even know what a podcast is, and you have to explain it to them. And how do I listen to it? Is it on the radio? Is it on the TV? He's like, no, not necessarily. But this, get the Spotify or whatever the fuck you want to use.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just love the idea of podcasts where you just we're just having a chat.
Exactly.
Like we're not having a full blown interview. We're not caught for time. We're none of this crap.
Yeah.
We just have to chat, and things happen. You get in the good flow and good conversation happens, and there's nothing like it.
Exactly.
Because
it's funny though. I was trying to explain to my parents what a podcast was. The easiest way I could say it to them was, it's like a radio talk show, but it's not on the radio.
Yeah.
And you can listen to it whenever you want. And I
Exactly.
I still think they don't really have the concept of it. The first thing my father asked was, can you get paid for it? I was like, no, not for a long time.
My own father's like that as well. Are you making money? No, it's not the point. Maybe in the future, but not right now. Yeah. It's just.
But that's the thing. It's not about the money, really. Like, sure, that'd be nice down the line if you could be like one of the few that do make money from it.
That'd be cool.
But like, that's not the point. It's more of the enjoyment factor of it. It's a deadly hobby to have.
Yeah, and like, I appeared as a guest on. Did I mention? Sorry, but I appeared on a guest on an American podcast there just 2 weeks ago. The guy's based in California. I was talking to this guy, Art and Jacob Do America, and I was on talking about loftushall and Leith Castle and talking about ghosts and fairies and stuff, and it was great. And they loved it. 2 Mexican guys talking to this Irish guy, and they were asking me about, do you have Lucky Charms in Ireland and stuff. I was like, well, we do, but they were kind of like almost banned for a long time because they had so much sugar. But you had to go into like specialist candy shops and or import them from America. And they couldn't get their head around it and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, it was just, it's crazy. Like, and I've made so many friends, even from other podcasts. Well, like there's communities based around podcasts. I have friends all around the world based on just this community. I listen to this, like Sofa King podcast, his other podcasts, and we're all friends, best of friends. We never met each other. We're all in different countries, America, South Africa, fucking everywhere. And we're like the best of friends, and we're sharing memes all the time and having a great crack. But that wouldn't happen without a podcast,
Yeah, exactly. It's mad. And
it creates a whole
that's
thing.
one of the best things about podcasting is the community of other podcasters you meet. And you're like, you almost become family with them. And as you said, you've never met them.
Yeah, exactly. Apart from Rob on Monsterful, I met him one time in Wexford in the gym, the Whitford or whatever you call it. I met him one time, we were just chatting away. This is long before either of us started a podcast or anything like that. So it's great. Like, I saw him doing that. It's like, yeah. And we're talking about cryptids. Brilliant. That's what I love. I listened to it from day one.
Yeah, it was the same. I couldn't.
And then he told me about you, and it's just, it's great. We're just building our own little community, our own network, and good people having the good times. Yeah. That's what's all about.
We'll all have to get together and start a community of Wexford podcasts.
Exactly. The Wexford Network of podcasts or something. Or we all do like a live one and we're all in the room. It's one thing.
Yeah.
That'd be savage. Like,
that's the funny thing. I've always thought it was weird about Monster Fuzz because the two lads on it, I don't think I've ever met them, but
Yeah.
we like know all the same people and we're friends with all the same people. It's just weird that we've never crossed paths. You know?
Yeah, and they're talking about all the characters around town.
Oh, I love that. That's one of the best bits.
I don't think they mentioned, was it Maggie Hurley? Remember that one?
Yeah.
I don't think they've mentioned her yet.
I think they might have mentioned her song in one of the episodes, but they haven't specifically mentioned her. But then they use nicknames for everyone. That's
it, maybe, yeah. So I don't even know if that's her real name. I don't know. I just you'd see her in passing. We'll say no more about her just in case.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you could see any performer who's living or dead, I probably know the answer now. In concert,
yes.
Who would it be?
Obviously, yeah. Well, I suppose the obvious answer would be Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
Especially, the Folsom Prison concert or something. Obviously, you wouldn't want to be in the audience, but actually, I'll tell you a story about that. Have you heard of this country singer Merle Haggard?
Yeah.
Do you know this guy? Yes. He was in, I think it was Folsom. He was a prisoner at the time, and he was in the audience at one of Johnny Cash's gigs. And it changed his life pretty much. And when he got out of prison, he became a singer, changed his life. He was like a renegade, always breaking the law when he was a kid and all this kind of stuff. And he ended up in prison and saw Johnny Cash and changed his life. And he became a country music legend in his own right.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So it'd be magic to be in a Johnny Cash concert. You never know what happened to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jesus. Speaking of Merle Haggard, did you ever hear of the Bloodhound Gang?
Oh yeah,
I remember.
Do what like to do on the Discovery Channel.
Yeah, I had their album. I can't think of the name of it now. Hooray for Boobies, actually, it was called. But there's like 47 tracks or something on the album, but like a good 30 of them are just nothing. It plays for like 20 seconds. It's like a kind of a joke thing, and then when you get to track 30, a song comes on, then nothing for 5 more tracks. But there's a song that's like their take on a Merle Haggard song. And it's a lap dance is so much better when the stripper is crying and they sing it in his style of singing and everything. It's hilarious.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I think that was actually my first introduction to Merle Haggard.
Yeah. And have you ever heard his song Okie from Muskogee?
No, actually.
Or Muskogee. It's a song, it's like we don't smoke marijuana here in the South, or this kind of stuff. And it's like only hippies have long hair and all this kind of stuff. But it's that kind of a song. But the thing is, he wrote it as satirical. He wrote a song as if if he was in the mind of his own father, looking at these guys with long hairs. Oh, they're all hippies, and the only cigarettes we're smoking around here are picking Marlboros or whatever it is. It's kind of it's really kind of conservative sounding song, but it was completely satirical. But the thing is, the conservative people really took it on board and loved it. And even I think Reagan at the time wanted him to perform it for him and all this kind of stuff. But it was a complete piss take. But if you listen to Okie from Muskogee, it's a really class song, and it's funny how the story ended up. Everyone is complete satire, but the crowd it wasn't aimed at loved it.
Jeez.
So it's just funny, but yeah.
It's one of them things, though, isn't it? It's the typical thing, like you're taking the piss out of someone, and they're the ones that actually love it.
Yeah. It's funny how it goes sometimes.
And if you had to pick a song then that would appear on the soundtrack to your life, what would it be?
Oh, actually, yeah, that was a good question. That's a really good one. I think it would be Johnny Paycheck, another country singer, and his let me see, Take This Job and Shove It.
Right.
It's the name of the song. Because I've had lots of different types of jobs, in different way, different disciplines and so on. And I've had a few managers and bosses that were living nightmares, you could say.
Yeah.
And they make your life absolute hell. For no reason. Like I'm, a good worker. I'm put my head down. I do the work and, get the job done, go home at the end of the day. But the bosses just want to take advantage of you Like I'm very helpful. I go out of my way to help, you know, and then some people take advantage of that as well. And then you're too strained. You have to do too much work in too little time. And you're like, I've had jobs where I had to work 16-hour days with like 15-minute break. It's completely stupid. Obviously looking back, it's like I shouldn't have done it. Like, you know, I should have said fuck off. But basically, Johnny Paycheck, take this job and shove it. And it's once you hear the start of it, and it's like I can relate to this song. So this is definitely a big part of my life where I had all these jobs. I just want to shout this at my boss, the bosses. So that's definitely that's going on the soundtrack of my life for sure.
I think that's something everybody can probably relate to.
Exactly,
I feel like it takes a long time to actually get the job that you're happy doing, or that you'll settle for doing, you know?
Yeah.
Like I've had bosses turn around and be like, in a joke, sort of taking the piss sort of way, going, you do everything here. I know that if I rang you at 4:00 in the morning, you'd gladly come in, you know? And I'd be like, no, I wouldn't gladly come in, but I'm that much of a fucking idiot, I probably would come in, you know?
That's the thing. Like, as I'm growing older and having different jobs, I realize like the bosses aren't loyal to you in any way. Like, you're there to do a job. You know, it's kind of almost like, it is naive to think that they would be. Yeah. They're not there to take care of you. Some bosses, I have had very good bosses, don't get me wrong, like, but some of them, they're just there to, you know, squeeze you for every ounce of work that you can get out of you. And they pay as little as possible as well. And it's just, like, I'm at the stage where I don't want to work for anyone else. I want to do my own thing. I want to make my music. I want to maybe produce songs for people and, you know, record people and do podcasts. And, you know, entertain people and hopefully maybe make some money out of it too, which, you know, hasn't happened yet, but maybe fingers crossed in the future. I just love to be able to make a living wage just to get by, pay the bills. I'm not looking to fucking buy a Lamborghini or anything. But I'm just in that stage where I just love to give up a day job and just play gigs, make music, make podcasts, just be happy,
have fun with it.
But obviously it's not that. I have a job where I didn't have much time off. I had, you know, during the severe parts of the lockdown, I did have a few weeks off at a time, which I made as much use of as I possibly could, making music and so on. But then obviously I'm back at it full time. So it kills your productivity, and you come home in the evening, you're just like, oh fuck, I just want to sit down and do nothing. But then you do get that, you know, sit down for an hour or two and you get your energy back, and then I'm up editing guitar tracks or something, like, you know, you're up at it again. It's just kind of can't stop almost as well. I'm a glutton for punishment, I suppose. But hopefully I can go at it full time at some point in my life.
I'm similar to yourself now. I was working the whole way through the pandemic, and it's like a mix of mornings one week, evenings the next week, and then nights the next week. But
that screw you up, wouldn't
it? It really does, trying to get your sleep pattern around to it. But I've always said to myself, the goal is to have a job that you're going into work and it doesn't feel like you're going into work, you know? Or a job that you just truly enjoy, that you don't mind getting up in the morning for. And the job I have now, in fairness, I don't mind it at all. But again, it's not, I don't know how to say it. It's like, it's not what I'd love to be doing, you know?
It's not like what you feel like you're on earth to do.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself.
You feel like you could do more.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. Like, it's just, I just feel like, you know, you're wasting your time working for someone else. Obviously you're making money and stuff and paying the bills, and, you know, that goes along with it. But it's just the fact that all your time is just sucked up, and time is your most valuable thing. It really is. Especially as you get older, you realize, like, you know, look back at a few years when I was younger, and I just wasted so much time doing nothing. And that's why I call my album Worthwhile Waste of Time. Because when I was doing this album, it could have been a waste of time, but it was worthwhile because I was learning how to produce and write songs and stuff as I did it. And at the end of it, I ended up with a full album, and I was happy with it and proud of it, and I put it out and people liked it, and that was worthwhile. But also a waste of time. So it's So it's and I think my next album might be Still Wasting Time. I'm not sure. I have to figure out a name.
It's a good follow up. All right.
Exactly. So yeah, just as you grow older, time is the most valuable.
It does. It's so finite.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the only thing you can't get more of.
Mm-hmm. And then there's some people screaming at us like they've been locked down for last year and they have nothing but time.
Yeah.
You know, there's the opposite side of it as well, and they're dying to get back to work. But, yeah. Everyone's different.
Exactly.
Everyone's different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, before I let you go, then I've one more question for you. Your songwriting.
Yeah.
What's your process for it?
Right. Yeah. It's it can be different at times. Like most of the time, I just pick up an acoustic guitar and I just start strumming, and you just kind of you're fiddling, you're just messing, and then all of a sudden you have a little chord progression or a little lick or something. It's like, oh, that's nice, and I might develop that a little bit more, and then you have a few chords, and you end up having kind of a basic arrangement. And then I start humming. I start humming a vocal melody, and you kind of get where the words will be placed, I guess. Yeah. And you have a kind of a hook to the melody and stuff, but you haven't got any lyrics yet. Or sometimes you be playing and you just start saying words as well, and the words kind of start making sense in a weird way, even though they don't make sense. But then you'll hit on a word as like, oh, that could be a good topic for this particular song, and then you expand on that word or something like that. So it's kind of flows out with you. You don't like. I can't sit down and go, okay, I'm going to write a song now. It just doesn't happen. I'll stare at a blank page, pen in hand, and just nothing come out. Sometimes it can. Like sometimes it could be talking to yourself and you could say a phrase like, oh, that could be a good song title. And then I'll start jotting down like I have this song, my next single is going to be called No Front Door. I wrote myself, and it was actually wrote like 2 years ago and haven't released it yet, but I'm still working on it. The production of it. But it's we're sitting at like Christmas table with Christmas dinner table with my dad and the family, and my dad was telling the story about when he was young, and he remember going over to this house of a neighbor, and he went in and there was no front door in the house.
Right.
And that was literally it. That was the story he told. And that was it. Then I was like, no front door. That sounds good. And I ended up writing on like a napkin there and then. I wrote out literally wrote the song out. And it was like a story about like an alcoholic father, and there's cans and beer, cans of bottles on the ground, and the family are crying, and there's like breeze going through the house, and they can't keep the fire lit, and all this kind of stuff. And it's just kind of formed. Yeah. It's just like I spilled it on the page. But that's rare that can happen as well. Sometimes you really have to work at the lyrics. It's kind of there's no set way of doing it. Some people are great for that and just sit down with a blank page and just write away. But most of the time I strum out some chords and I start singing nonsense, and it kind of starts forming from there. It's like a kind of a creative flow, I guess you could say. It almost feels like you're not writing it as well. It just feels like it's falling out of you, and you just have to make sure that you record it or you write it down or something so you don't forget it. Yeah. So it's
just whatever
strange old process
feels right. When it flows, it just flows.
Yeah,
it's weird though. I've heard a few different ones now. I've heard people say that they pick random words out of a dictionary and try put them into a song, or they've cut words out of a magazine and done it that way, or then like they'll be out for a walk and a melody will just pop into their head. It just goes to show how everyone's brain works differently when it comes to music. But
then you had like Paul McCartney, I think there was one famous song he wrote, and he woke up from a dream, and it was in his dream, and he wrote down, he made sure to
yesterday
that's the one.
And when he woke up, he was sitting there at he was living with his girlfriend at the time, and he went down for breakfast, and he was like one of them things, your dreams start slipping away as soon as you wake up. So he was searching for something to keep it in his mind, and he looked down at his plate, and it was scrambled eggs and ham. So he kept humming scrambled eggs and ham to keep the melody in his mind. Yeah. I know music is that special thing. I absolutely love it. It's just, you can't put your finger on. It's like when you break it down, it's literally sound waves, vibrating in different ways. Yeah. That's literally it on a scientific level. But then when you put it all together, it can give you goosebumps, it makes your hair stand on end, it give you chills to the back of your spine, it can cause you to be in a metal mosh pit, or scream your lungs out in the field, 8,000 people.
it's just, it's this magical thing. Like I've always just been addicted to it. If I can do it as a full-time job or whatever you could call it, for, that'd just be ideal for me anyway.
Living the dream. But before we let you go then, is there anything our listeners should be looking out for soon? What's on the cards for Copper Kelly?
Yeah, so I have the podcast going anyway, the Folkin Around Podcast, and you'll find it anywhere like Spotify and all those good places anyway. And I have music out on Spotify and Apple and anywhere you can get good music as well. And I do a bit of live streaming on Facebook as well, a few gigs. I might actually start doing a few. I'm thinking of doing a bit of live stream gaming for the crack.
Oh, and
like
Twitch.
Red Dead Redemption 2 or something like that. So you're like a country singer playing a cowboy simulator. It's gonna be a good crack. I'd say.
Would be good.
I'm kind of getting the gear together and hopefully try to start doing it soon. So maybe look out for that. But I'm just love being on podcasts, and I'm kind of trying to get out there and make something of myself, I suppose. So if you're have music out there, and I've all sorts.
You're
of
on
stuff.
all the socials and
all the
you have a
socials.
website.
Yeah, Copper Kelly Music on all the socials, and website copperkelly.com. Nice and easy to remember. And then there's all my links to socials there on that website as well.
Perfect.
All that good stuff. I have lots of music videos. Actually, I have a director. He's a friend of mine. He's a neighbor. He lives across the field, and he directs all my music videos. And he's like a professional videographer. Declan Colfer is his name. So if you look up my music videos on YouTube, whatever about the quality of the music, whatever about that's so subjective. But the visuals are immaculate. They're he does it so well. I'm so lucky that he's just as a neighbor and he's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And it's just the music videos are top notch, regardless of the music, whatever you think about the music. Like for instance, like I have Her Home is one of my songs I released a while ago, and we got a drone. He has a drone, and we set the drone up around Duncannon and Hook Head and Slieve Coilcha, the hill, the mountain near New Ross there, and it's like showing the beautiful green grasses of Ireland. The green grass of Ireland. And also, any of your foreign listeners, if you want to see where we're living, Wexford, have a look at that Her Home video. And it's probably a real cheesy kind of song, but the video is beautiful.
Deadly. They'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us about the song we heard there at the start?
Okay. So 16 Tons was the my latest single. It was the cover of an old 1940s song. It was I think it's written by Merle Travis and then recorded by Tennessee Ernie Ford, and Johnny Cash did a version of it. And it's about coal mining. And it's about basically, if you know anything about coal mining back in like the 1900s, start of the 20th century, the miners or the coal mining companies basically kind of owned the miners. They lived in the towns that were right beside the coal mine. And I think if you survived the coal mines for a month, then you wouldn't get paid in cash anymore. You get paid in scrip, what's it called? Or it's like credit or ore. Like you'd be paid in the ore.
Right.
But you couldn't use that ore anywhere apart from the company store, which is like the grocery store that was run by the company, the coal mining company. And they had anything you need, clothes and groceries and stuff. But the prices were obviously hugely inflated because you couldn't actually go down to the local greengrocer because you didn't have any cash. All you had was the credit from the company. So there's a famous line in the song. It's like, if I get it right, you load 16 tons and what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me because I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store because you've racked up so much debt having to buy these groceries at inflated prices. It's just such a horrible system, which you probably see in some places today. Like maybe not as in that certain way, but some places. So it's a real hard hitting kind of song. It's about loading 16 tons of coal and getting nowhere. So it's just a great song. I think the first time I heard it was these guys, I think in Scotland, doing an a cappella version of it or something. And I just fell in love with the song. I was like, what is this song? This is amazing. I have to do a version of this. And So I did, and I recorded a full production, and I got some friends on, some friends on drums and backing vocals. I have like a guy, my friend Heather from the north, she's on backing vocals. A friend called Rory Cooper from New Ross, and he is an absolute musical genius as well. He came in and he said, I might try some vocal harmonies here. I said, okay, grand, work away. And he ended up doing this like Beach Boys level 4-part harmonies, and it's just like sending shivers down your spine. And it's just it's a big production to the song, and hopefully people liked it anyway.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So I've had a great time chatting with you tonight.
Absolutely, me too. It was great crack.
It really was. It's one of my longest episodes as well, I think.
Oh, is it?
Once I have a feeling once I add in all the music and everything, it's going to be about 3 or 4 hours long.
That's for no harm. It's a podcast. Exactly. That's the great thing about
That's it. You just get lost in the conversation sometimes.
Yeah.
But so the listeners are going to hear your song Get Gone play us out tonight. Yeah. Would you like to tell them a bit about it?
Yeah, this Get Gone is my second last song. I think I released it back in August of last year. And I wrote this one myself. And it's about telling someone that cheated on you to get gone.
Right.
Much. But it's not from like a life experience in a way. It's more, sometimes when you write a song, you kind of put your head into like the mind of a character almost. And you kind of write about potential experience that they might have and the feelings they might have or whatever. So it's a song about telling someone to get gone, which is kind of a sad topic in itself. But I have like fiddle going, and there's, it's a clappy kind of, toe tapping barn dance.
Yeah.
Yeehaw, and all this kind of stuff. It was a good bit of crack, like, and I put that out there last August, and really proud of it, and hopefully your listeners will like it too.
Good. Well, thanks a million for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Absolute pleasure.
Get gone, long gone. You've been messing around, you've been gone all night, I know what's going on. Get gone, long gone. I hope that door slaps you on the way out. You've got to know, you've hurt me deep inside. This pain is real, a feeling I can't hide. I no longer will I allow this carry on. And go on and pack your bags, go on and get gone. Get gone, long gone. You've been messing around, you've been gone all night, I know what's going on. Get gone, long gone. I don't wanna hear it, I just go and pack the bags. You've been messing around almost every night, I'm so sad I don't wanna fight. The longer you're here, the longer I'll hide my tears. Get gone, long gone. I hope that door slaps you on the way out. I don't care who he is or where he's from. All I want to do now is move on. But your eyes tell the lies that keep us here. Go on and pack your bags, go on and get clear. Get gone, long gone. You've been messing around, you've been gone all night, I know what's going on. Get gone, long gone. I don't wanna hear it, I just go and pack your bags. You've been messing around almost every night, I'm so sad I don't wanna fight. The longer you're here, the longer I'll hide my tears. Get gone, long gone. I hope the door slaps you on the way out. Get gone, long gone. You've been messing around, you've been gone all night, I know what's going on. Get gone, long gone. I hope that door slaps you on the way out. Get gone, long gone. You've been messing around, you've been gone all night, I know what's going on. Get gone, long gone. I don't wanna hear it, I just go and pack extra bags. Even messing around almost every night. I'm so sad I don't wanna fight. The longer you're here, the longer I'll hide my tears. Get gone, get gone, get gone, long gone. I hope that door slaps you on the way out. I hope that door slaps you on the way out. I want that door slap you on the way out.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed that as much as I did. It was great to have someone on from my hometown, especially a musician. If you did, why not go rate and review it on iTunes? It really helps the show grow. And while you're at it, go check out some of Copper's music and subscribe to his podcast. It's a really good one. And I just wanted to remind you that we've some merch available on TeePublic and Teespring. And that next week's guests are the amazing Irish band Wild Tibetan Monks. So, until then, keep rocking.
Hey, what are you guys still doing here? The show's over. It's over. You can go home. Go on. We'll see you next time. We'll be here. Bye.